It's an NFC heavyweight battle when the Packers host the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. We've got a crossover Thursday for you for Thursday Night Football.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome inside another crossover Thursday. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers. Joining me, David Harrison from Locked On Commanders. Today's crossover Thursday is presented by our friends at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code Locked On NFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Not a huge surprise here, David, that the Commanders come in here 1-0 off the opener against the New York Giants. Though I will say, I saw a lot of people saying, I don't know, Giants with the points, they're sneaky, that front against the Commanders offensive line. It didn't play out that way, though. First half, there was some questions, I think, that were able to be asked. Coming out of that game, though, I think everyone is going, what's real and what's not in week one? What is that part of it for the Commander side?
Yeah, man, that is you just nailed it, right? And I know it's a week one question for everybody, but for this Washington Commanders team, man, it's that run defense. That run defense was putrid last year. If you don't believe me, go turn on any Philadelphia Eagles game, specifically in the fourth quarter, and just watch Saquon Barkley. Or if you don't have that much time, turn on the NFC Championship game and just watch the very first run that Saquon had against this Commanders run defense, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. The run defense was just absolutely horrible. General manager Adam Peters made it his mission this offseason. Like the trade for Laramie Tunsil, the trade for Deebo Samuel got all the headlines. But the real work was on the defensive side in the trenches. Javon Kinlaw inside and outside. Dietrich Wise Jr. also inside and outside. Bringing up Johnny Newton a little bit. Challenging Daron Payne. Like, don't just be a leader in the room. Be a leader on the field. Go get Eddie Goldman to eat up space in the front, man. And last week against the New York Giants, who are a team who's just kind of historically known under this staff to be a run-first guy, kind of team. Tyrone Tracy trying to pound it down. Cam Scatterbo, I thought we'd see more of him from the New York Giants. I think after what he did and the little bit of work that he did get, you probably will moving forward. But that defensive front, man, just completely bottled up the rush attack of the Giants and harassed Russell Wilson all game long. Very impressive. Is it real? Or is it because you went up against the New York Giants, who also didn't have Andrew Thomas, their best offensive lineman? You know what I mean? So those are valid questions, I think.
Well, and if you're a Commanders optimist here, you say, okay, they added Javon Kinlaw, but everyone, the unanimous opinion on that was, why did you have to give him all of that money? Who are you bidding for Javon Kinlaw? And then right away in game one, Commanders fans are going, hey, look, this is the guy that we paid. And I'm sure 49ers fans are going, hey, what the hell, Javon Kinlaw? Like, we never saw that guy in San Francisco, at least not with any sort of consistency. So from that standpoint, David, like the Lions early on committed to stopping Josh Jacobs. They thought, hey, we're going to play two-man or we're going to play single high and just dare you to run the ball or beat us over the top. The Packers did the latter more often than not. We'll get to that, I'm sure. But when you think about the approach you expect Dan Quinn and this defense to take, do you think it is, hey, Josh Jacobs is the tip of the spear because of, we feel good about this run defense? Or is it more, hey, look, Jordan Love, that number 10 and those receivers, that's going to be a big challenge for us. Like, what is the priority, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's got to be the passing attack, right? Like if you were to look at the Green Bay Packers just week 1 of 2025, and obviously the defense is going to dictate a little bit of how they operate. You look at this team and you say, this is a team that wants to get vertical, to spread you out, to open you up in order to try to find holes for the run game, right? Which is a very good, successful way to do things. The other good note about what the Washington Commanders did last week is they didn't have to blitz a lot. Like Joey Jr. is a defensive coordinator who loves to get aggressive, loves to play games, bring extra guys. But he got home a lot with just an organic 4-man rush, did not have to add other rushers to the mix. And if you can do that against the Green Bay Packers, and if you can bottle up Josh Jacobs, just like the Detroit Lions were able to, then you can play more games in the backfield. You can rely on guys like Quan Martin and Will Harris, the veteran safety back there, to keep a lid on things. And, Detroit Lions are a talented team. We know they have some guys on the roster. I would say that given the names, given the players on each defense, given the comfortability in the scheme as well, which is obviously a huge thing. Everybody knows that. Coaching matters. I would say this is a better secondary coming into Lambeau than the one that came in last year, whether it just be a comfortability, synchronicity thing, or it just be a pure raw talent thing, whatever combination of chemistry it is, I think this is a better secondary. So can they do enough things defensively to keep the Green Bay Packers from getting away with some of the things they got away with, the 2-play scoring drives, things like that? I think they can. Then the other question goes on the other side, because on the Commanders' offensive side, their run offense was their strength last week, while their passing offense had some hits, but had a lot of misses as well. Yeah. And the Green Bay Packers, very stout against the run, against a very dynamic rushing attack last week as well. So it's strength on strength, something we asked Dan Quinn about today. And I think that is ultimately, Peter, where this game is going to get won or lost, is whether or not the Commanders' run offense can become a strength again, or if the Packers can bottle that up.
Yeah, 19 carries or 19 touches for Jahmyr Gibbs. He had 50 yards. He is one of the most dynamic players in the NFL, and they absolutely put him in a straitjacket. It's unlike any defensive performance. Matt LaFleur called it the most energetic and sort of like high intensity defensive performance he's seen in Green Bay since he's been head coach. And so
when did the Lions and Packers play again?
Thanksgiving.
So you know what? Because I think this, as much as coaching staffs want to go back to the drawing board, let's evaluate our players. Let's evaluate the execution. This coaching staff, more than almost any other in the National Football League, has to go every single week, reevaluate yourselves. Because I think a lot of what we saw with the Detroit Lions last week, and maybe I'm giving them too much credit, I don't know, but what I think we saw a lot of is two coordinators who know what they have, but they don't really know what they have, right? Like they just drove the Porsche off the lot. They don't really, they haven't really broken it in yet. So if they're self-evaluating, then come Thanksgiving, and I know this is not a Lions-Packers crossover, come Thanksgiving, that's going to be a different matchup. I'm not saying the Packers won't still win. It's just going to be a different matchup.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we don't know if those guys can do anything other than paint by numbers, right? Like that's the question for anyone just saying we're going to push this thing forward. And that's the beauty for the Commanders is, you know, they found something with Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels last year. And I don't think anyone could have predicted it would go as well as it did. I don't think the Commanders would tell you, if you put them on lie detectors, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn last August, they thought it would be a 12-win NFC Championship team. There's no way they would say that. Nope. But that's not to say that they're not talented. It's just, it went better than expected. And so when you have that continuity, I think you saw that in week 1 from Green Bay. You saw it in a way in week 1 as well from the Commanders. It's then what else are you getting? I want to go back quickly to a point that you made about the front. They were able to get home with 4. The Lions couldn't get home with 5, with 6. Right. My question is someone like Dorrance Armstrong, is he going to be able to have another, like, what did Pro Football Focus give him? Like 10 pressure, something crazy like that? Yeah. The Packers, as we are recording this, we don't know the status of Zach Tom, who left with a hip contusion. Matt LaFleur said we're going to give him all the way till game time, but it could be Darian Kennard, who was on the Philadelphia Eagles roster until like 2.5 weeks ago. So that could be a matchup to watch here, because if the Commanders can get home with 4, that makes life really difficult. The Packers did an incredible job. Speaking of what Matt LaFleur, David said was the best in his time. He said the backs picking up pressures, picking up blitzers was the best single game performance of that he's seen in Green Bay. I think he said in his coaching career. So and
I love that he did that, man, because backs don't get enough credit for that kind of stuff. No. So I'm glad that LaFleur did that.
Chris Brooks is only on this team because he can do that. And he's awesome at it. And Josh Jacobs was not great at it last year. He's gotten better. And my guess would be Matt LaFleur challenged him. Like, you want to be the elite of the elite. This is the place for you to do it. I was saying on my show yesterday, like, those linebackers that they have are, at this point in their career, especially for Bobby Wagner, better downhill players than moving backward. And so can you get them, whether it's guessing, can you get Frankie Louvu a little too excited to take those 2 steps forward and then find space in behind? Can you get, if you can hold up, can you get Bobby Wagner in the middle of the field having to, sort out everything that's happening on the back end? If you can, I think the Packers have some areas to attack. Jordan Love in the 10 to 20 yard space last week was unbelievable. That was where he did all of his damage to the Detroit Lions. And I think that is a place where there could be some vulnerabilities here for the Commanders.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of 3 safety sets. I think you're going to see a lot of Will Harris, Quan Martin, and Jeremy Reeves all on the field at the same exact time to do that, to do exactly that, to try to take advantage of some of the things that the Green Bay Packers are going to want to do. Plus, the Green Bay Packers have a lot of horses, man. They got a lot of dudes out there to run some routes and do it pretty stinking well and can definitely bite you really quickly if you let him. So I think you're going to see a lot of 3 safety sets. And, Joe Witt, the defensive coordinator, I think he's going to try to get home with 4. If the Packers show him, hey, bro, like, respect us a little bit more than you respect the Giants, then he's more than happy to bring the pressure. And it's going to come from a lot of different places. Mikey Sanders still out of the slot, except for example, Will Harris from the safety position, not just Frankie Louvu. And the hope is going to be that those games, those combinations, right? You bring 6 to the line, you rush 4, but which 4? You bring 6 to the line, you rush 5, but which 5? That those things are going to do enough against the Packers front to put some pressure on Jordan Love and hopefully put him in duress and throw something up that Marshawn Lattimore or Trey Amos can go out there and take advantage of.
Yeah, you mentioned Joe Witt. This is a little bit of a Joe Witt grudge match because he was a Green Bay Packers defensive coach now under Mike McCarthy, but Matt LaFleur could have kept him and did not. So maybe there's a little bit of animosity there.
He loves his time back in Green Bay. I will tell you that. He does look back at his time in Green Bay with appreciation. I will tell you that.
I hope that's true. But you never know. Let's get into the other side of the ball because speaking of horses, Micah Parsons talked about the horsepower on this defense. They're going to need it against Jaden Daniels and this Commanders offense. We'll talk more about that next on a Locked On Packers, Locked On Commanders crossover Thursday. Today's crossover Thursday brought to you by Mazda. You can just move through life or you can find things that move you. It's your choice. You can choose to get out there, choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really go for it. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode also brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of the golf course to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Personally, I love fall golf. And I often on the course need a little pick me up. So this is just a perfect confluence of events for me. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. All right, we're back here on a crossover Thursday. Locked On Packers, Locked On Commanders. Peter Bukowski and David Harrison. And David, Jaden Daniels, he moves a little differently than Jared Goff, but they do like to do a lot of the same things. It's a lot of big play action, a lot of the quick game that gives you the opportunities to take those deep shots. And when you take those deep shots, you be efficient, you be explosive. How are the Packers best equipped to tackle Jaden? What is the way to defend Jaden Daniels for the Packers?
I mean, honestly, man, like if I'm a defensive coordinator trying to defend Jaden Daniels, you're rushing with contain in mind, right? You can't ever get past the quarterback, right? You're playing zone and you're just hoping to rally to the quarterback, man. Like when he takes off, you just want to rally to him, right? And honestly, like the thing that is terrifying about these types of quarterbacks, and Jordan Love obviously still has some of these moments as well, plenty of moments, I'm sure, they can still beat you. Right, like you could do the best thing for it, but he can still beat you. Because I'll tell you right now, if you go the route that other D coordinators have gone and like, let's just send the house, let's just pressure the heck out of him and try to just fluster him. You're not going to fluster Jaden Daniels. I saw Jaden Daniels get gang tackled by like 4 dudes, twisted and turned like a pretzel and got up laughing. You're not going to fluster Jaden Daniels. So the best thing you can do. That was
one of the things, by the way, you and I talked about. We were at Super Bowl, talked about his poise. And just like right away in the NFL from week 1, you could just see nothing bothered him. Nothing flusters him. It seems like it's part of his personality where he's just like, I'm just here and I'm going to do what I do. You can guys try whatever you want, but I'm going to be good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Like you're just not going to bother this dude. I mean, he made a mistake at the end of the half against the New York Giants, threw the ball away, got flagged for intentional grounding, 10-second runoff, ended the half. They were in field goal range. Could have added points. Look, it's a terrible play, and Jaden took full responsibility for it. Can't let that happen. Got to get better. But at the same time, he's laughing coming off the field at halftime because it happened. It happened. It's over. There's no reason to sulk. There's no reason to hang your head. There's no understand what happened. Understand how to fix it. Move forward. Enjoy the game. You're a millionaire playing football. You know what I mean? And that's Jaden Daniels. Like Brian Burns was annoyed by how much he talked on the field. The dude is just having fun. He's going to go out there. He's going to pick at Micah Parsons if he can. He's going to pick at anybody that you might as well put Clinton Dix back on the field because he's just going to be laughing all over no matter what happens. That being said,
Packers and Washington football team legend Clinton Dix.
Absolutely. That being said, I mean, that's just, that's kind of just the uncomfortable thing about a guy like Jaden Daniels. And I think as a Packers fan, you hear somebody say that, you're like, yeah, good luck with that. Like you have to do something to stop him. Honestly, man, the best thing to do is just to kind of hope to contain and play that bend, don't break. Yeah. Hope that, a receiver drops a pass here or maybe a guy fumble. I mean, look, the Philadelphia Eagles, man, the Washington Commanders turned the ball over almost half a dozen times. And it wasn't until like that fourth turnover that the game really actually got away from the Washington Commanders. So that's just what Jaden Daniels can do. It's rare. I'll be honest with you, Pete. That end of half intentional grounding, I remember saying this to myself, that might be the first rookie mistake I've seen him make. And obviously he's not a rookie anymore, right? But that just shows you what kind of rookie season he put together. Like that might be the first like head slap moment I've seen out of Jaden Daniels. And that's very impressive. So, it's very much a you can't stop him, just hope to contain him type of situation.
I think for the Packers, we saw them line up in a number of different unique fronts, line up Micah Parsons over the center, overload sides, and you still have to do that stuff, I think, to attack Jaden Daniels, but you have to be even more buttoned up with your rush lanes. And what's interesting is I wonder when even though like Jalen Hurts last year, his pressure versus not pressured stats are wild. Like he's very pressure sensitive like Jared Goff. But Jeff Hafley's decision was, we're just going to sit back. We're going to contain rush and we're going to make you play quarterback from the pocket. Now, the difference in the Eagles offense and the Commanders offense is the Eagles, their short game does not exist. They want to hunt big plays. And if you have those routes covered, Jalen is going to sit and pat and eventually bail. And then you just have to go chase him. I don't know that you can do that with Jaden Daniels because so much of this offense is quick game. It's RPOs, it's screens, it's stuff where you're going to have to rally and tackle, and you're not going to have time to get in your exotic looks, your overload fronts. Hey, cool, ball's out. And it's to the other side of the field. And so I think that's going to be the cat and mouse game. And it goes back to the conversation you and I were having at the top, but in the reverse. If the Packers can stop this Commanders, and I'm talking traditional run game, with Big Bill Merritt, right? Then that makes it easier because then it's 3rd and 8, right? That difference. Now you get into your funky fronts. Now you line Micah Parsons up over the nose tackle. Now you get into those simulated pressure looks. Like there was a simulated pressure, David, against Jared Goff, who sees and reads defenses extremely well. The Packers show overload pressure and they only send 3. And Jared Goff still pees his pants. Because the pressure had been getting home before, he gets up and looks around and he's expecting the pressure to come. It doesn't. And he just kind of, and then throws a bad pass to Sam Laporta in the flat. They can't convert. They have to kick a field goal in the red zone. It was a really big play. Now, I don't expect, the Packers to trick Jaden Daniels a bunch in this game. They didn't trick Jared Goff a bunch in the game either. You only need to do it one time. You only need to do it that one game-changing time. And I was checking out True Media, and Jaden Daniels last year, top 5 in touchdowns thrown against the blitz, but also top 5 in interceptions thrown against the blitz. It is a high risk, high reward proposition. And so I'm very curious to see how Jeff Hafley decides to play this. Do you, as you mentioned with Joe Witt in that defense, do you play your traditional 3 deep 4 under and just see what you could do at first? Yeah. And then if you have to take risks, get into that variance mode. I feel like if we take the Hurts blueprint, that might be the way that they view this here, because what they did last week was beautiful.
Yeah. That's what I do. You know what I mean? And Jared Goff, like, I don't know that the Packers, like, to your credit, I don't think the Packers confused him as much, but I felt like Jared Goff wasn't seeing the field the way even Jared Goff normally would. And, and some of that I think certainly has to do with the new offensive scheme. Right. And I think that honestly, that's something that the Packers can play into as well. Like I said, bend, don't break, hope that there's a drop pass or something. Like, look, I love Debo.
Holding call.
I've been telling people all off season, Debo's not fat anymore. Debo's not slow anymore. Debo's electric. You saw that against the New York Giants. But Debo also had 2 drops. And even at his best, we know Debo will drop some passes. You know what I mean? Like, that's just been part of his MO his entire career. He's going to drop some passes. Noah Igbenogany is good for a DPI a game. Debo Samuel is going to drop some passes. Those 2 things are just known, right? That, death, and taxes. So if you're the Packers, right, it's week 2. We heard Dan Quinn on Tuesday talk about some of those misconnections, some of the overthrown pass to Terry McLaurin, some of this other stuff. It's just week 1 football. Like, everybody just kind of starts a little bit rusty, right? That's just the nature of the business. So if you're the Green Bay Packers, you bend, you don't break, you get into the red zone, maybe inside the 10, and you hope that some of that week 2 football shows up. Yeah. A Commanders fan might go on Twitter and say, like, but if Jaden Daniels hits Zach Ertz on that route or Debo doesn't drop that pass, okay, yeah, but nothing. It happened. And now the Packers won. Now, the other side of the coin here is, of course, the Packers are also playing week 2 football. I would say they looked much more in sync and in rhythm in week 1 than the Commanders did. But there's some potential week 2, buts that can happen on their side of the ball as well. But yeah, as a defensive coordinator, man, like I said, especially with the new wrinkles, right? Debo Samuel in there, Bill Krosky-Merritt, like you mentioned, just the evolution of the scheme, just overall. And also guys like Jalen Lane, who you saw get involved just a little bit, a couple targets and all that stuff. So you haven't seen a full repertoire of what they're going to do with him yet. I think it's just best sit back. Let's see what they're going to do. Let's find the pace. Let's find the tone. And let's just not give up the major play and take it to the final round, man. Take it to the bell, and let's just figure out who's left standing.
The old Rocky Balboa. I get it. I love it. Speaking of throwing haymakers, I think this game is going to come down to who can create those big plays. Those, you take your swing and you got to connect on them. We'll talk about that as our Locked On Crossover Thursday pours forward. Today's Crossover Thursday brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. This is an opportunity to really, really amplify those winnings. Packers, 3.5-point favorites at home against the Commanders. They won and covered with plenty of room to spare. I like the under on these Thursday night games, though. So maybe you put the Packers together with the under in all this. Are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Back here, Crossover Thursday, Locked On Packers, Locked On Commanders. And David, these are teams that they really have fun creating the explosive plays. Terry McLaurin last year was a touchdown machine. I think some of the iconic Jaden Daniels plays from last year, I think of, the game winner against the Bengals, and some of those vertical shots that he's able to create. He throws an incredible deep ball. I don't know why don't they do that more? It's not a huge part of their offense.
So I'll tell you this, the deep shot is always available. Jaden, he's just very judicious. You know what I mean? And I think it's part of what kind of made him impressive last year. And I think it's going to continue to be a part of his game. Now, at the same time, he's also gaining more and more trust in his guys. And, he'll throw the ball up to Terry sometimes in double coverage and just trust that Terry's either going to go up, get the ball, or make sure that the defense doesn't get the ball. But it is always there. It's just he also has faith in, Zach Ertz underneath, Debo Samuel underneath, things like that. And again, he has no problem draining the clock. I mean, I'll tell you, man, when they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card round, I used to cover the Bucs. I've got a lot of Bucs fans in my Twitter feed and all this other stuff. I saw a lot of the buts and the Commanders got lucky. The Commanders drained 4.5 minutes off that clock at the end of that game against Todd Bowles' defense in Tampa, Florida, to get that game-winning field goal. And yes, it doinked in. Okay, but that entire thing was by design. And Jaden Daniels, I don't know if he ever had more fun than orchestrating that drive, watching that clock drain in that stadium against that defense in that situation. Like, you know what I mean? So again, Jaden doesn't need the 70-yard bomb. Certainly will love it, but the 4.5 minute drive at the end of the game, like he loves that just as much as he loves anything else. Well,
if you love to win, it just doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's the thing. Here's what I'm wondering. If you're Dan Quinn, how do you stop Matt LaFleur when you have never stopped Matt LaFleur? Since Matt LaFleur has come to Green Bay, Matt LaFleur has never not scored 30 points against the Dan Quinn defense. And I know that those defenses are not this defense, but it just like LaFleur has just seemed to have a feel for how to attack Dan Quinn. So do they try and stay true to what they are? Like, what are the changes here that you think the Commanders have to make, or at least the adjustments? Where do they have to be particularly buttoned up? Because like I said, like Matt LaFleur has read Dan Quinn's mail for years now, despite the fact that Matt LaFleur has the utmost respect, by the way, for DQ, talked about what an important part in his coaching career being in Atlanta was. You know, they go to the Super Bowl together. That was hugely formative in Matt LaFleur's career.
Yeah, but look, it's easy to be respectful of little brother when you're big brother, right? And I think that right now in their history, that's just the facts of it. And also, Washington hasn't beaten Green Bay in Green Bay since 1988, and they don't play every year. Yeah. That's a long time. You know what I mean? And I mean, the best versions of this franchise, 1991, all that stuff, like that's a long time to not get a win in a place when you have a history like this franchise does. So it extends even further. I think this is a different Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. Defense. And I think that where it really boils down to, Peter, is discipline. I watched very early on that Packers-Lions game, a lot of in and out runs or routes run by the Packers receivers and tight ends, a lot of out breaking it to in breaking routes, a lot of mesh, a lot of layers, a lot of drive concepts, a lot of things that really test the discipline of the Detroit Lions defense. And then I watched that 2-play touchdown drive. And those 2 plays, very simple routes, no frills, no major cuts. But I watched both those Lions DBs, and it looked a lot to me by their body language like they were waiting on that double move. They were waiting on that trickery to come. And I think that's where LaFleur's genius is we're going to show you all this craziness. It's like Allen Iverson. I'm going to do all these fancy things. And then when it matters the most, I'm just going to hit you with a layup, bro. And you're not going to see it coming because you're waiting for all this other stuff. Discipline is the difference. And I think discipline is the key. And when you have faith in what you're doing as a defense, that discipline can shine. I think that's really where this is going to boil down to. Look, the Commanders got to win the physicality battle, be better in the trenches, obviously. Clean up the laundry. We haven't even touched on this yet. 12 penalties for the Washington Commanders last week. I mean, if you cut that in half, right, Pete? If you have 6 penalties, you still nearly doubled what the Packers had last week. So even that may not be enough. So you got to cut those at least in half, if not more. And then Jaden Daniels. The Packers, like you just said, contain pass rush. They're going to try to do that. The word got out pretty quickly. It's not a secret. Jaden Daniels doesn't like throwing to his left. He doesn't like running to his left. He likes throwing and running to his right, just like any other right-handed quarterback. They knew the Giants were going to come in, try to force him to the left. And what did they do? They designed a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that Jaden Daniels got out to his right, got to his spot to shoot his shot like Steph Curry. They're going to do the same thing against the Green Bay Packers. And if you can do that and give him those opportunities, those 3 things, play discipline on the back end. I promise you right now, if the Packers get a haymaker from Jordan Love, it's not going to be because the design was just fantastic. And Dan Orlovsky's going to spend half an hour on NFL Live breaking down all the nuances. It's going to be because the Commanders lost discipline in the secondary.
So it's interesting that you brought up that 2-play touchdown drive, because the Packers against the Cowboys in that playoff game where they put up 41 offensive points, that happened because Matt LaFleur broke every tendency. It was, here's the concept we've been running all year. You're going to be scouted on this concept. Here's the double move off that concept. Or here's you think we're gonna run this mesh, we're gonna run mesh return. It's those kinds of things. And it was the whole game was that. And then he just for good measure threw in, Wyleek just to stick it to Dan Quinn. Cause that was a Kyle Shanahan, staple back in Atlanta. That was something they ran a bunch in Atlanta. And so that's the thing I think for Green Bay is, you mentioned the discipline part of that. They're going to have to hold up against this pass rush. And that's that part of it. The flip side is, where do you put Micah Parsons then? If Jaden wants to get to his right, does that mean you line him up on Laramie Tunsil and see if you can get him from the backside? Or if they're going to send extra bodies to the front side and keep a tight end on that side, do you want to put him there? Do you want to line him up over the center? And then when are those things happening? When are they going to, is that going to be an early down thing? Is that going to be a third down thing? Well, it's going to depend on what those down and distances are, because it's a lot easier to do on 3rd and 4 than it is on 3rd and 9. And so it's all, to me, predicated on winning the early downs for the Packers defense. And they were awesome at it last week. I'm going to give you the stat again. 19 touches for Jahmyr Gibbs for 50 yards. He set a record for for fewest yards on 10 catches in modern league history. They were awesome rallying to the ball, and they have to do that again because every one of these players for the Commanders is a threat after the catch, including Jaden Daniels, who, not after the catch, but like in open space. We know what he's capable of. This has to be, I thought last week was the best rally and tackle game I've ever seen the Packers play in the Matt LaFleur era. Thursday night's going to have to be, like a close second.
Yep. I mean, I think last week, man, was the Packers just come out and say, look, last year, like I know
last year was last year,
double digits, and I know last year, like some of y'all thought, oh, we're coming for the crown, and there's a new boss in the NFC North. It's still the Packers division. That's what I took away from last week. We'll see what continues in week 2, and then obviously beyond. But yeah, man, I mean, LaFleur. Look, man, LaFleur is known as one of the best coaches in the NFL for a reason. He knows how to get into people's heads. He knows how to play these mind games, and he's got a team that obviously follows his lead. And does a lot of great things, which is why this is going to be, I'm looking forward to a very great game. I have no idea who's going to win, to be quite honest with you. But I'm looking forward to a really fun game, a really fun night. And like I said, unless the Commander come out there and commit 12 more penalties, I think it's going to be a very close one at the end.
Well, that was the key for the Packers on Sunday. They out-disciplined the Dan Campbell Lions, and that is not something we could say for the last 3 years. They out-coached them, they out-schemed them, they outplayed them, and they out-disciplined them. If the Packers do that again, they will win on Thursday. All right, we'll be back for more this week. Locked on Packers, Locked on Commanders. I'll be live post-game. A ton of coverage coming from both of us here. So stay locked on Packers, Locked on Commanders. I've almost forgot my own catchphrase.